Hey Dayton, thank you for your first email, man. I just wanted to kind of talk through some things with you and reassure you a little bit that what you're experiencing is common and normal to every student teacher who's kind of learning the ropes in a new context. We talked a little bit about the differences and kind of the blessing that is, but also the curse of having two different mentor teachers at the same time. It's common for students, especially in our elementary program, to have two different placements, but usually they're spending all of their time with one teacher at a time and then later on moving to a different teacher. Because you're moving from Morrison to Ortmeyer's class and back again, you're dealing with some dilemmas. Not only could they potentially be in different places in the world history curriculum, but as you mentioned, their focus might extend in one class in a particular concept that in another class is just sort of passed over. And your ability to kind of blend and the best of both worlds is really important part. It's an important part of your experience here. One thing that I would say about that is to keep in mind that when you're co-teaching, when you're more the observer role in any of those classes, you're allowing your teacher to approach their students and their content in whatever's most comfortable for them, and you're just there to support, sort of mimicking their style if there's a warm-up or a procedure or whatever the case might be. But as you move into kind of taking sole responsibility for a class, say in Mr. Morrison's class, and you're working towards the 2 weeks of solo teaching, keep in mind that you're going to model what you do based on him and his structures, but the students need to view you as a new teacher. You are not a mini Morrison and you're not a mini Ortmeyer. So you are becoming your own teacher, and you're going to approach things a little bit differently than the other teachers might. And I think if you're able to communicate that with students, and you're already beginning to recognize some of the differences in your approach, that then your teachers, your mentor teachers, approach the content, I would just be clear and forward with communication in that regard. It sounds like you're really getting into the world of Lincoln High School. I know you're fairly familiar with it, but I absolutely encourage you to meet Mr. Grimm. And also, I don't know if you know Mr. Luchins either, but I would say get to know as many of the office personnel as you can. I would introduce myself to Mr. Grimm, Mr. Luchins, Mr. Struey in the activities department, and anybody else who might be there. Just let them know who you are, what you're doing, a little bit about yourself. I think anytime we can make those connections, it's helpful. And I think it also humanizes you a bit in their eyes. You know, if they don't know you, you're just another student teacher. But if they actually sit down with you for a couple of minutes and get to know that they have some potential future teachers in their building right now, I think beginning to build those relationships is a really powerful thing. It's sometimes intimidating, so I think taking Heather with you would be a great idea. um, I'm glad you got to experience conferences, even if it was for just a snippet of time. I think that's an important kind of rite of passage, because the first time that you're sitting there on your own as a full-time professional teacher, it's nice to have an experience to draw from. And then the in-service situation that comes up after that is oftentimes planned poorly. Not in that the activities are necessarily poor, but the reality that teachers are exhausted, they've worked several nights that week, and now they're expected to learn and engage in professional development isn't always maybe the best time or use of time. But I do hope that you're enjoying a little bit of time off this week. I know you still have a lot of USF work to catch up on. Again, don't be afraid to shoot me concerns, comments, observations. The last thing I would say as well, as we're kind of taking a look at the end of February here, next Monday is the 25th, I would encourage you to consider one of the days in these 2 weeks to shoot me an invite to come in and observe, get that first initial observation kind of out of the way. Again, it's not a got you kind of experience. I'm there to observe and offer some feedback and just kind of question you on your approach. You may or may not have control of the classroom. You might just be leading a warm-up or leading an activity. But if there is a day, especially a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Friday, say after 9 or 10 o'clock, those are the best days for me. I can certainly get in on Monday or Wednesday if the time is right. But just begin thinking through that as you're planning upcoming weeks with Ortmeyer and Morrison to try to get me in for that first observation. Otherwise, I'll look forward to kind of condensed email on Friday, and I hope you're resting. Hang in there, man. Look forward to seeing you again soon.